I told Kyle today, though, like, hey, you should post a picture of the sausage, gravy, and biscuits from the podcast. That can be like the official breakfast of the Stoned on Sports podcast.
Uh-huh.
Instead, he just shoveled it down.
No. He said it after we ate it in the garage, smoking a cigarette. I mean,
No.
come on.
I said it as the sausage gravy was still in the fucking pan.
No.
You come downstairs at 10:30 or whenever it was.
It was like 9:47, showered and ready to go.
Like, all right, there's a little bit ready. And then I'm like, hey, maybe we should post this on the Twitter. And you're like, oh, that's a good idea. But if I do that, then I'm not eating. So fuck that.
Bitch, we had a cigarette first before we even ate the breakfast.
Coming down the stairs like Ryback.
Right.
All right.
No idea who that
No, it was right.
Welcome, everybody, to the Stoned on Sports podcast. My name is Matt. As always, happy to be here with you. Things look a little bit different this week. Addressing the elephant in the room, Kyle indeed followed through on his threat to darken my doorstep and showed up here Thursday. It's been a great weekend so far. We got to meet up with Ramey. Speaking of Ramey, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. I hope you guys are doing okay in such close quarters and we can get through this podcast without you guys physically attacking each other. I'm glad you clarified though, because for those of you that are watching the podcast, all three, thought maybe some people might think that Kyle finally the landlord caught up to him for not paying his rent and he had to get the hell out of town. Came down to Indy.
Nope, I'm early with rent every month. I'm like almost 2 weeks ahead.
Look at you.
Yeah, I'm an
responsible adult.
Very excellent bill payer. You know, I don't have a checkbook. You know, Matt swears that I should have a checkbook, but
it'll save you time and money.
Yeah.
How do you not have a checkbook?
Because I don't need one.
I understand that you don't need one on a regular basis, but there may come a time where you need one. So why not just have a few checks in it?
Because I've never not had it's been easy to pay my bills online or other means, and it's fine. I don't need a checkbook.
Right. So he'll go out of his way to purchase a money order when you could just write a check.
I go out of my way by standing at my desk at work and selling myself a money order or giving it to my coworker. And
that sounds like a conflict of interest.
My coworker and she'll do it. So I'm really not going out of my way as I'm.
Sounds like something that's going to result in a federal investigation at some point.
No, I don't believe so.
Well, you see, officer, I gave myself a money order to pay for the previous money.
Officer, you mean?
And then 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
United States.
United States Treasury agent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no officer.
Okay.
Federal agent. It'll be all right. It'll be
my apologies.
Yeah. But no, it's good to be here next to my buddy. I haven't been here in 4 months, so it's good to hang out.
Yeah. Well, you guys want to talk about some football today?
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
What do we got on tap?
Yeah, little AFC North preview. Going to go through the teams in the AFC North, do our predictions, do a little discussion, real back and forth, do our pick sixer.
Video. You got to show me the screen. Reactions.
We are the video.
No, I need to have my shit up.
And should I?
Let me start over
here.
Hold on, Kyle's bitching.
Well, I want to see reactions. I can't do it. See right up here, that little minimize box. You're doing it from here. I'll do it for you. Hey, Boomer, give me the mic.
What the fuck good is the mic gonna do?
I meant the mouse. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Did you call him a boomer because you're older than him?
I got carded for cigarettes yesterday. Right after he bought a pack of cigarettes. You can even skinny it up.
Yeah, I understand how this shit works.
Well, it took you long enough to do what I told you to do. And
where's the fire?
That'll work.
Let me hurry.
So yeah, a little AFC North. Who do you fellas want to start with?
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right. Excellent. Nice dig there, buddy.
Head coach Frank Reich. I think they've got an.
It's like Brady's never ever made a mistake in his life. His not made him fried chicken every night for dinner.
Yes.
And patted his little bottom with fucking powder and shit. All right, how about we start with
They got specific.
Yeah. Well, the Bengals, the Bungles. I just want to get them out the way because
Sure.
you know, blow everybody away or.
Yeah.
All right. Who's going?
Have at it.
All right, Cincinnati.
This is a disaster.
We're going to start with the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe they obviously are going to be the front runner for winning that division and being a 1 or 2 seed in the AFC come playoff time. They got some tough matchups. They have a week 7 bye, so pretty early. But they have week 8 at San Francisco, and then they come right back home the next week and play Buffalo. I'm glad the NFL gave them a bye right before that, but that's a couple tough games that they need to win, especially against Buffalo for playoff seeding. How do you feel about that, Matt?
You know, look, for the past few years, they've been the class of the division. I don't really see that changing this year. They do have some question marks for me. One of them is just how good of a coach is Zach Taylor. Having Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and especially last year, a pretty solid defense. You know, I think it's helping to make him look better than he actually is. You know, and speaking of Joe Burrow, what Joe Burrow is going to show up in the playoffs, right? Is it the Joe Burrow that led the team to the Super Bowl, or is it the Joe Burrow who had the ball in his hands with a lead in that same Super Bowl and last year's AFC Championship game, and they lost both? They do have a great wide receiver room with Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. That's probably the best top 3 in the NFL. They did lose 4 DBs from last year. They drafted 3 and they signed 2 more. DJ Turner, they took him at pick number 60. He's a cornerback out of Michigan, fastest kid at the combine, and he's a really good man-to-man corner. Kyle, to your point, you know, about the schedule, it's, you know, kind of easy-ish before week 7. They are a team with a win total sitting at 11.5. I'm going to go over that number. I think they end up being the AFC representative in the Super Bowl this year and wrapping up that number 1 seed.
All right. Matt's going with that. Right.
Wow. Yeah, they were 12-4 last year. I think they'll probably be at or around that this year. They do play the AFC South, so there's basically 3 pre-wins. Maybe 2. I don't know. But yeah, they do have some question marks. They signed Orlando Brown and from off of Kansas City, the offensive tackle. So they're trying to shore up that line even after trying to do so the previous year and not really succeeding. So hopefully getting some protection for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's in his 5th year. So do they tie him up long term and get an extension for him, or do they go into the season with a bunch of question marks about what his long-term future will be? Cincinnati is notorious for not spending on payroll, and especially guaranteed money. Joe Burrow will probably set the market for quarterbacks. It seems whatever quarterback signs the most recent is the one that sets the market.
Yeah,
so that'll be
get an extension. He's not at his 5th year yet, though. I think
they picked up his 5th year option. I'm sorry.
They picked up his 5th. You got to pay him, you know, and you're going to pay him whatever it takes to keep him there because there is nobody available who's better, and they're not going to be in a position during the draft to find his replacement.
And I think the sooner you sign him long term, the better. I mean, the sooner you sign him, it's going to be cheaper because, again, each time a quarterback signs, it resets that market. And I think they're getting closer and closer to, God, $500 million even, as far as like a long term contract. You think of Patrick Mahomes' contract, it was what, 10 years, damn near $500 million. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be in the neighborhood of that, especially if he has another great year this year, which I don't see why he wouldn't. They did finish the season last year really hot. They won 8 straight wins. Obviously won 8 straight wins. They had 8 straight wins before heading into the playoffs. One of the questions that I have too is that I know Joe Mixon's been in a little bit of trouble this offseason with some legal issues that seem to keep popping up occasionally for him. So what do they do there? And if he ultimately it impacts his playing time, how do they kind of keep that run pass balance in there? How does Zach Taylor do that? And to your point, Matt, they did lose a ton of defensive players, specifically defensive backs. Weird when I was doing the research for this, Jesse Bates and Trey Flowers, not only them, but a lot of, which we'll talk about at some point, but Atlanta signed a ton of defensive players off other teams, and Cincinnati was kind of a victim of that by losing their defensive backs. Hayden Hurst also signed with Carolina, but they did pick up, like I said, Irv Smith Jr. So we'll see how things go, but I don't see any reason why they shouldn't repeat as division winners.
Yeah, if something happens with him, he was a big chunk of that offense. He had 248 carries and 89 targets. So he's a weapon coming out of that. They drafted that Chase Brown out of Illinois in the 5th round. He's hit 1,000 yards his last 2 years at college. So we'll have to see. Chris Evans is still there. He's more of a passing down back, running back out of Michigan. Matt was talking about Zach Taylor. How good of a coach do you think he is? We were actually discussing earlier. I mean, that Tomlin and Harbaugh are going to be the top guys in that division. Who do you think, Ramey? Tomlin or Harbaugh better coach?
They've both been there forever. I think
forever doesn't mean, well, I mean,
I know. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think they're both really good coaches. I think if you're looking at it from an X's and O's standpoint, I think you're probably looking at Harbaugh just because he came in special teams. He's more well-rounded as a coach. Tomlin, more of a defensive guy coming from that Tony Dungy tree. They're both really good coaches. I think if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick John Harbaugh, to be honest with you. But I think Zach Taylor's a really good coach too. You think about what the Bengals were when he came on. I mean, they were in a position to draft Joe Burrow because they were so bad.
I'm not saying he's bad in any way. He's just he's got time to blossom and come more into himself and see what he's going to be as a coach.
And you're only good as the talent that you have, right? Their talent is immensely better than it was when he got there. So not trying to give Zach Taylor all the credit, but he's done a nice job of putting that offense together and building a program there that's seemingly year in and year out going to be in contention for the AFC Championship.
Yeah, I think the talent on the team there kind of masks some deficiencies of his, and I think they make him look like a better coach than he actually is. I'm not saying he's a scrub, but just, I don't know. He doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I'm most concerned about the defense this year. You mentioned about Bell and Bates leaving, or I think you might have mentioned Bates, but Von Bell left too. Their strong safety and free safety, and
Trey Flowers as well.
Yeah, Trey Flowers. Dax Hill out of Michigan is going to play safety. Matt mentioned they picked DJ Turner, also out of Michigan, and that Jordan Battle, can't remember where he's from.
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Yeah. And then they signed Nick Scott, who has been with the Rams, and he was a full-time starter last year. And he's a speedster too. He was a 4.43.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see in the coming years how they handle all these contracts that are coming due. Who's going to get cut, basically? Like, is it going to be Boyd? Is it going to be Higgins? Like, you can't pay everybody.
Boyd's going for sure. He's the oldest of the group, and I think he's a free agent after this season, so it'll probably be his last there in Cincinnati. if you can find a way to pay Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, obviously that's going to be ideal. I think Higgins is going to want to be paid like a wide receiver 1, even though he's the wide receiver 2 on his team, but he would be the best receiver on probably 20 other teams.
Yeah, that's fair.
They got damn lucky to land both him and Chase, and Higgins was a second-round pick.
I wouldn't be mad if he moved a couple hours north.
Yeah, Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit.
Nope. I said a couple, not 7.
6, 7.
Dayton.
I was, yeah. Expansion team.
Circling back to the schedule for them, I do like that how the NFL added that Week 17 game at Kansas City. Probably going to help decide who's the 1 seed,
rather than having to rely on a coin flip like they potentially could have last year.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was kind of out of their control, but still,
it's not every day that somebody bites
dies
the field.
Yeah.
So
suiting up again this season.
Yeah. So transitioning, Baltimore Ravens. Lamar got his deal. Seems pretty happy. They've added some playmakers. They've ditched Greg Roman in the offseason and got that Todd Monken. I don't know terribly too much about him, but from what I've read, he's going to give Lamar some freedom at the line where Roman kind of did not. So I'm interested to see if that does anything for him, seeing looks that he can actually change.
It's probably just a giant coincidence, but I think I'm going to stop putting my notes on the shared drive because I feel like Kyle's cheating.
Never looked at any of them. I think it tracks who goes in there and shit. I haven't been in there.
Oh, whoa! I wasn't accusing anybody.
Not been in your shit.
One minute.
Right
I didn't do it. I don't know what you're talking about.
This guy was in the room with me the whole day this afternoon while I was doing stuff.
I wasn't paying attention to what you were doing.
I wasn't looking at shit. Never once.
But
no.
We're doing Kyle's research for him.
Yeah. They picked that Zay Flowers. I think that he's going to be a nice weapon for them. And of course, they still got Mark Andrews, who's just amazing.
Yep. Yeah, I think the key is, and Matt, you and I have talked about this. I'm high on Baltimore. Their over/under is 8.5 wins, and I think they're going to blow by that. I think that Todd Monken's going to help Lamar Jackson be more of a passer than if they want to be successful, he has to be more of a passer, and they've brought in some weapons for that. Last year, they were 2nd in rushing offense and 28th in passing. So that needs to even out a little bit more. Lamar needs to become more of a pocket passer and be smart enough to run when he needs to, rather than just
he needs to learn how to throw outside.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. And I saw where he's been at the OTAs and things like that. So hopefully he's taking it seriously. I know he made the claim he was going to throw for 6,000 yards. He's not going to throw for 6,000 yards.
So it has.
Sure. The next 2 seasons.
Yeah. But he needs just because of age and things like that, he can't rely on his legs forever. He needs to become more of a pure passer and start creeping up in that 4,000 yard territory. Maybe not this year, but in the coming years. So it'll be interesting to see how that offense evolves, with Lamar being more of a passer, just to protect him and to maybe make that offense a little more explosive.
Yeah, like you guys were saying, Greg Roman is out, Todd Monken is in. His offense still has a strong run foundation, which will be nice with them having J.K. Dobbins at 100% now. He does work to create mismatches, especially at the tight end position, and does attack a little bit downfield. So we'll see how Lamar does with his deep ball. I know he's been pretty successful with that over the past few years. They brought in OBJ on an overpriced contract. There is no way in hell I would have given him that much money, but it is what it is.
Even on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I don't think he's worth $15 million.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, before he got hurt with the Rams, I felt like he was having a really good year, and I think you have to overpay to bring in free agents anyway. So I don't hate it being a 1-year deal.
I mean, he's old coming off an ACL. Like,
that's fair.
What are you really hoping to get?
He may surprise us. You never know.
We'll see. With Andrews and Isaiah Likely, they've got a couple awesome tight ends there. Isaiah Likely is a super athletic guy that just doesn't really get a lot of the pub, just because Mandrews has been so good. I found their win total at 10.5. So if you saw it at 8.5, hammer the shit out of that over.
Yeah.
I'm going to go under the 10.5. I think they win 10 games this year.
It's tough because talking about their schedule, the end is kind of rough. 15 through 18. They're at Jacksonville, go out west to San Francisco, back home for 2 against the Dolphins and the Steelers. While the Steelers you may not think be a tough matchup, it's still an AFC North division, and those are just tough games usually at the end of the season.
It always feels like there's a game in late November, early December, Pittsburgh and Baltimore that's like a 7-5 kind of halftime score, and you're like, good God.
Right. It's like,
but it always
an Iowa game.
But you're right. It's entirely possible that last game of the year comes down to who gets in as a wild card and who goes home. So, good point on the schedule there.
I'm just hoping with the pieces that they're giving him, and Lamar's happy with his deal now, that they just won't be a one-trick pony like they have been forever. I like Matt said, they're run solid, the new OC, but I think they're going to see an uptick in passing this year. It is the NFL. It's a passing league. Pass the ball.
Yeah, that's it. You pass to score points. You run to win. They can definitely run. I've said over and over for a very long time, specifically about these Baltimore Ravens, that you're not going to win a Super Bowl with a quarterback who cannot operate the offense from within the pocket. Ultimately, that's where the game is going to be won, at the quarterback position. And this year, it's going to be put up or shut up time for Lamar. Yeah, he got the MVP in 2019, and he hasn't come close to matching those numbers since then.
Let's just hope he can stay healthy, get an actual full season here. He's been hurt the last couple of years. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Hopefully that they can protect him. I know they lost their great blocking guard. His last name's Powers. I can't remember his first name. Kenny Powers? No, not him.
I think it's Kenny Powders,
yes. But he was highly ranked last year, so.
They did lose Calais Campbell as well.
Yeah, they released him. I mean, how old is he?
Yeah. He's like 37. He's still productive, though.
Yeah, he is. He's old as shit.
And you never know. Maybe it's somebody they bring back a training camp. Who knows?
He signed with Atlanta, along with every other defensive player that was out on the free agent market.
They did pick up a lot of defensive players. I'm really excited to see what they can do, because they're going to have to have a good defense, I think, because I don't think Atlanta's going to score a ton of points.
But anyway, you can get more into that when we cover the NFC South.
Exactly. Moving along, Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin's squad. God, he's a hell of a coach. They have a week 6 bye. Their big schedule thing that I saw was their last three out of their last 4 games are on the road. And then they have 8, 9, and 10 all at home against the Jaguars, Titans, Packers. I think those are games that they could possibly win all those. I think they'd go 2-1.
And they've got an interesting schedule. For their first 6 games are against teams that had a losing record last year.
Okay.
So they're going to have to make their hay and bank some wins early in the season if they want to be in the playoff come December.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we've talked about this before. Mike Tomlin doesn't have a losing record in his career, so he squeaked one out last year.
16 consecutive seasons to start coaching.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that, because I wanted to, when we talked about Harbaugh versus Tomlin, I kind of wanted to hit on this, and we can throw Belichick's kind of on his own thing. So do you feel like a coach can wear out his welcome or lose his voice by sticking around for too long? Tomlin's been there for 16 years. Harbaugh's been there for damn near 10, 12, 14 years?
Yeah, both been there for a minute.
They have. I think Mike Tomlin's highly respected by the players.
I totally agree.
And Pittsburgh has that tradition. What is he, their third coach in the last 50 years or so?
162 years.
162 years. Chuck Noll, and then
Bill Cowher.
Thank you, Bill Cowher. Awesome. Matt chiming in there with Tomlin too. They just had longevity, and I don't think somebody like Mike Tomlin's going to lose his voice in there, or where the players are hearing him. There's maybe a different personality. Maybe that's somebody less of a player's coach. Maybe, but there'll come a time where he's done.
He has the buy-in of leaders in the locker room, and that's what you need. He's got the hardware to back up what he says. He's been doing this a long time. When Mike Tomlin speaks, people listen.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that over the course of time, the message, becomes stale. Like, it can certainly have. The game can pass even the most brilliant minds by. We see it happen in college. We've seen it happen in the NFL, where guys who were innovators, they had that label for, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, but eventually, the game continues to evolve, and it continues to evolve. And if you don't evolve along with it, it's going to cast you to the side.
Some coaches stick to their guns and keep their skin and just don't change, just like that. So
that's the key, though. I think with Tomlin, it's the same thing over and over, but it feels authentic with him. Like, he's a player's coach, but he's not afraid to get in anybody's face and tell them what they need to hear too. So
you can tell he truly gives a shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So
he's had very fundamentally sound football teams for a long time. They have a very simple formula there. They're going to run the ball. They're going to stop the run. They're going to play defense, and they're going to beat you into submission. To help with that endeavor, this year they took Roderick Jones in the first to help shore up the line. I'm looking for Najee Harris to have a better year than last year. The defense is solid, led by TJ Watt. The wild card for me on their offense, though, is George Pickens. He's a dude who makes the difficult catches look simple, and simple catches look a little more difficult than they should be at times. They brought in Allen Robinson. I don't think he's got anything left in the tank, and he's proved that over the past couple seasons.
Yeah.
I think best case scenario for them is he provides them a red zone target to go along with Pat Freiermuth, because neither Pickens nor Deontay Johnson are particularly big.
And then there's Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I mean, really, the QB room there,
Yeah.
Can any of them do it this year?
That's a great question. I mean, you've got Trubisky backing him up, and they re-signed Mason Rudolph for whatever reason. I think he might have pictures of somebody.
Yeah.
It's just it's interesting because I mean Pickett started, I think, 12 games last year. Might have been 10. I'm sorry. Showed some promise, but it'll be interesting to see with him having the starting job this year from day one. Does he take a step forward, or are we having a conversation next offseason if the Steelers need to be looking at a quarterback in the draft in the next year or so? So I think he can.
Will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, time will tell.
To your point, Kyle, it seems like they have 3 backup quarterbacks on that roster.
They have probably one of the worst QB rooms in the league.
Yeah.
So far. I mean, he could a lot of people make a jump in the second year, and we'll see what he worked on during the offseason and see what he can do out on the field.
He certainly has the weapons.
Yeah, Matt mentioned Pickens. I mean, he needs to step up a bit, but he can only be as good as his quarterback. Getting him the ball, he was 52 receptions, 800 yards, but only 4 touchdowns. So they hopefully they worked in the offseason. They're getting a connection, which I'm sure they are. Most of them fellas too.
Let me ask you guys something. If you swapped Kenny Pickett and Brock Purdy, do you think the results for either team are any different?
No.
I rank Purdy higher than Pickett. Not
I don't
much higher, but
to me, like both of them are career backup guys. Or they're getting a shot now, but just I don't see it with
And then Purdy succeeded because of the amazing weapons up in San Francisco too. I'm not knocking
and if
that.
you Pickett, those same weapons, that same system.
Okay.
I assume you would get very similar.
Was a Kyle Shanahan teaching him instead of
Matt Canada?
Yeah, whoever.
And if you put Purdy behind that line in Pittsburgh with a, okay skill position group, a damn good defense. I think you're going to get a very similar result to what Kenny Pickett returned. Neither of them are outstanding. There's nothing remarkable about either one. If you're looking for a game manager, that's fine. If you're expecting somebody to go win games for you, you're barking up the wrong tree.
I agree.
Yeah. I think, both of those teams, right? Pittsburgh and San Francisco want a game manager. They don't want a guy that has to go out and throw for 4,500, 5,000 yards. I think you said it earlier, Matt. Pittsburgh relies on defense and running the ball. And if they can do that and Kenny Pickett can make some plays, I think they'll have a decent year.
Yeah, their win totals at 8.5. I'm gonna give Mike Tomlin the benefit of the doubt and say they get 9 wins. Yeah. Pittsburgh is one of those teams that they just always find a way to get there. By hook or by crook, they're going to be in the conversation for the playoffs pretty much every year. With the way the AFC is loaded this year, I don't really see them being a playoff team, especially, at third or fourth in their division. But, there's some reason for optimism there. Kenny Pickett aside, we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it.
Patrick Peterson signed there in the offseason. Do you think he has anything left? Anything?
He's a guy. He's not probably some veteran leadership for that locker room. Outside of that, I think he's a rotational player at this point.
I don't think. I remember they were mad because Cam Sutton left there in the offseason and signed with Detroit. And people on the Pittsburgh Steelers subreddit were all upset that they lost.
They were mad.
They were very, very mad. Moving along, shall we?
Sure. Are you ready?
I am ready. Cleveland Browns next. They got an early bye week 5. See what that happens. 3 out of their first games are against the division opponents. It's tough.
Yeah. And they got San Francisco in there too, in their first spot.
Do they?
Mm-hmm.
3 out of their first how many games?
Or first 6 weeks, you mean? Because of the bye.
Their first 5. Don't be pedantic.
He could be pedantic. He could be pedantic. Ramey?
I feel like I sound like a broken record in this division, and maybe it's just the NFL in general, but I think it's going to come down to, is Deshaun Watson able to come back and be Deshaun Watson that he was in Houston, or is he going to look like he's lost and, looking for a masseuse? Sorry, that was in poor taste, and I apologize to those who were offended.
On paper they got a lot of players on offense. Well, that's the question.
They do.
Will Deshaun do it and be 2018?
And the thing is, Jacoby Brissett's gone. He went to the Commanders, so they don't have him to rely on as a backup. Now, assuming Deshaun Watson's healthy, he's going to be playing the entire season, so it's not as big of an impact. But Jacoby Brissett was able to hold the fort down while they were waiting for Deshaun Watson's suspension to end, and then they kind of tailed off towards the end of the season because Deshaun Watson just looked like he had not played football in 3 years.
He hadn't played football with any of his teammates. He didn't have that connection like
good. He didn't deserve.
Well, it's just true.
Yeah. And they did trade for Elijah Moore from the Jets. He's another guy that was just a bad fit in New York. I don't know if that really
Elijah Moore.
Yeah, I don't know if that really impacts that wide receiver core much, but it should provide him another weapon to go to. But he was good his rookie year, and then he just kind of fell out of favor and was not happy in New York.
Yeah, he got in his own way.
He's a speedy slot, though.
He is. He's got some talent.
What'd you call him, Kyle?
A speedy slot.
Okay.
I mean,
Gotcha.
pronounce it
Yeah.
a bunch of syllables.
Yeah, they didn't have any first or second round picks this year because they used number 42 to get Elijah Moore. I think that was a bit of an overpay, just considering, the Jets didn't really have much.
They got a third back. They got Elijah Moore and a third back from here.
I'd rather have the 42nd pick personally, but it is what it is. Yeah, you're right though. This season hinges on Deshaun Watson. He looked like hot garbage last year. I am hoping he looks just the exact same this year. I am not a fan of that dude, and I understand he is alleged to have done a lot of things and some things that weren't amazing, but that horse has been beat to death.
Yeah.
Another person who's done some not so great things, Kareem Hunt, is no longer on the team. But they do have Nick Chubb to continue to lead that backfield. He's probably one of the most underrated and consistent running backs in the NFL. He is a badass. The defense is anchored by Myles Garrett, but there isn't really a whole lot of help for him in the front seven. They do have a nice secondary with some good young pieces in place. They've got a win total of 9.5, and I am going under that without any hesitation.
And they did. They picked up your guys' old friend Jim Schwartz to come in and run the defense. So look at the disgust in Kyle's face.
Oh God, it was. You know what? I liked him, and then he got fired or left, or I can't remember what it was. But
He bought into his own hype.
yeah, he went, and then the next team he went to was what? The coach.
Dallas?
Was it Philly?
I think.
Philly.
Philly.
Yeah, it was Philly, and they played the Lions like the next year or something like that, and they won. And the Eagles players carried him off the damn field on their shoulders, and it just still bothers me to this fucking day.
Yeah.
What a fucking pompous.
Well, what do you expect from Philly? Honestly.
Sorry to all of our fans in Philly.
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
Ask Bill Burr how he feels about Philly.
Yeah.
You mentioned they didn't really have a lot of help with the front seven. They signed that Okoronkwo from Houston.
Sorry, say that again.
Okoronkwo? Yeah. Agbanya. So you look some stats up.
I see you aborted the first name there.
Agbanya Okoronkwo. Play for Texas. So an interesting number. I was like, who is this guy? I didn't know who he was really either. So I looked up a couple things on Next Gen.
Do you know who he is now?
Yeah, I know he is. And so he's a great edge rusher. Well, he's going to blossom into a good edge rusher. He is somebody that I'm going to.
Are you on his
my fantasy football team?
Were you on his MySpace page, or he's going to blossom into a great defensive rusher?
Next gen.
Our space.
Anyway, I was impressed by this stat of his. So out of all edges last year with over 200 pass rushes, his pressure rate, he was number 3 in the league, 16.4%. The only two players beating him at number 1 and number 2 are Micah Parsons and Trey Hendrickson.
Some good company to keep.
That's what I thought. And right below him is Myles Garrett in the division. Or on the same team. Not in the division.
Also in the same division.
Yeah. Also in the same division.
Yeah.
So what are you guys thinking for order of finish?
For this division?
Yeah,
This division.
That would
the
make
AFC North. Yes.
I think they're running back exactly like they did last year. I think Cincinnati wins the division. I think Baltimore is a close second, but still Cincinnati's the class of the league. Steelers are going to be in the same boat as they were last year, just kind of struggling to get above 500. And I think Cleveland's going to be bringing up the rear.
Slightly different. Cincinnati, Baltimore, Cleveland, then Pittsburgh.
Ramey, I'm with you. I think Pittsburgh's going to be hovering around that 500 mark, 9-8, 8-9, something like that. I think the ceiling for Cleveland is essentially what they had last year at 7 wins.
And they still owe Houston their first-round pick next year and their fourth-round pick. So Deshaun Watson is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. You better show up this year. We're going to look at egg on their face.
I mean, they already have egg on their face.
Well, that's true. The day they signed him. Yeah.
And then they gave him that extension with a $1 million salary the first year. That way he didn't lose out on much for his suspension.
Which is bullshit.
It is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So last year, Cincinnati and Baltimore made the playoffs from that division. Do you think with the loaded AFC, do you think they both make the playoffs, or does the AFC North only have one playoff team?
I feel it depends on like how Miami or like the Chargers do. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the AFC South is only getting one team.
Correct.
That's true.
And that's it. And that leaves 6 spots for the other 3 divisions. So you think out west, it's probably Kansas City and the Chargers. Out east, it's the Bills and the Dolphins. Maybe the Jets are in the conversation. Maybe the Patriots are in the conversation if they get nuke. The AFC North, obviously Cincinnati is going to be in, barring something just ridiculous. Baltimore is going to be there. They're going to be in the conversation. I don't see them winning the division, so they're going to be looking for a wild card spot. We'll see, brother. I mean, they got as good a chance as any of those other second-tier teams.
I tend to agree with you. I think Baltimore's better than the Jets.
Do you think they're better than Jacksonville?
If Lamar comes out and is a competent passer and they run that offense a little bit more balanced than they did last year, yes, I think they're better than Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's poised to take a step back. I think they got hot at the end of the year last year. They're going to be feeling themselves a little bit in a weak division, and I could see them losing some games that they may have won last year. I think they had a pretty good record in 1-score games last year, so that tends to kind of regress to the mean the year after. The Vikings are in the same boat, but
maybe I do can flip the script there and become the trap game for them.
Yeah, it's about time. I mean, we do have that. We do have a $20 million kicker that should be.
That's true.
Hitting field goals from the 50-yard line.
That's true. And I mentioned earlier because of Baltimore and Lamar, and Matt's talked about it off the pod about Lamar's inability to throw outside. So, do you think he's worked on that this year? Do you think they could just stack the middle again, and
for $260 million, yeah, he better
have done something. Because
well, I mean, they have 2 first. Wasn't Rashad Bateman a first-round pick?
Yeah.
So they've got a first-round pick tied up in Rashad Bateman. They've got a first-round pick tied up in Zay Flowers, and they just brought in OBJ. They're not just going to cram all dudes plus fucking Andrews.
Yeah.
No, they got to do something. He's got to step up. He's got to operate the offense from within the pocket. He's got to go through more than just 2 reads in his progressions. He's got to read the whole field. And that shit ain't easy to do. You've got to process a lot of information, but when a guy's used to 2 reads and run, that's a big change, especially when you've been so successful doing that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he's got to retrain himself and build up new muscle memory.
Makes sense.
Do you think if I started calling myself Mandrew that it would catch on?
I would happily call you that.
Yeah.
I will do so from here on forward.
Right. I would never use the word Randy.
Yeah. Appreciate that, guys.
If you want to make the change, you just let us know. I fully support you.
All right, now it's time for our Pick Sixer, our weekly discussion, our top 6, whatever it may be. This week is a fun one. I had some fun putting this one together. It's our top 6 most annoying things that people can do to just, piss us off. So, Kyle, I am extremely interested to see what's going to be on your list. So why don't you start us off?
All righty then. Why are you looking right at me?
Why are you touching me?
I want you to go ahead and look into the camera, please. Thank you. One of my biggest things that annoys me is anytime people stop short. By stop short, I mean you're walking through any crowded area, a mall, an airport, a Walmart, a ball game, the sidewalk. It doesn't matter. They're oblivious to everybody around them. and they have to check out where they are on their phone or whatever, and they just stop where you're at. So I just run right into them, or I've got to go around them. Like, move to the fucking side, asshole. Like, there's fucking people walking here, you know?
I have questions.
Okay. All right. Shoot.
How often does this happen to you?
Oh, all the time.
How closely do you follow people when you're walking?
Well, this is more, I said more crowded areas. So picture a New York sidewalk, picture a full football stadium, or, you know, a big Mall of America, like just stuff like that. No, it happens all the time.
Picture Kyle walking through Central Park in the fall, a crowded sidewalk full of slow walkers.
Yep.
Kyle,
Stop shorters.
eager to get to his.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just giving you a hard time. I'll let
moving
you
along.
continue.
Moving along. My second one would have to be, you go into somebody else's bathroom, it's not yours, and the toilet paper roll is under, not over. If you have the fucking toilet paper roll under, you are a fucking psychopath, okay? Over is better. It's right there for you to grab. You can see it. Instead, you're trying to get up under it and stuff. Who wants to try and do that? Put it fucking over, right? Am I right?
I'll agree with that.
Dude, it's annoying. Pushy salespeople. Car lot. It seems to happen to me at like furniture stores a lot. You just want to go in and look for a recliner or a new sofa. You're out with the wife or whatever, you know. You've gone shopping for furniture with your wife, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And pushy salespeople come up to you. How do you feel?
I say I'm just looking quite sternly. And then I say, if I need anything, I'll come find you.
But this is annoying. Don't you think I've already done that? They still like persist.
You should be mean.
Finally, you have to kind of like be me. Remember what that person looks like, so you don't go back to them. You really need some.
Give me your card so I know who to not utilize.
Right, exactly. Number 4. This is a throwback or a throw out to Larry David. Pig parker. Those are people that park with in two spots. So I don't like people that do that.
Okay.
Park between the lines, motherfucker. Why is it so difficult? Have respect so everybody can get their shit in and out. Because then, if I park next to them, then I'm in 2 spots. And then what if they leave? All the other people around me think I'm the asshole now.
Right.
When I really wasn't. I didn't start it.
So you base your parking on your relationship of distance to the car that's next to you, not where the lines are. So if you have one of these pig parkers,
yes,
instead of just giving some space and parking in a normal spot, you're going to park as close to them as possible and continue. Just make the problem worse, basically.
I have a friend, he lives down in Tennessee, Scott F. I won't totally reveal him, but he carries around a yellow notebook of paper or yellow tear-offs. What am I trying to say? Post-it notes? Yeah. And writes "park better" on there and slaps it on the offender's windshield.
That'll teach them.
Yep. Well, it makes them feel better, I guess.
You get them, Scott F. in Tennessee.
Yeah, right. And then let's see. When you can't find the end of the tape, you know, you didn't fold it over perfect or use some other trick like a paper clip or something. It usually happens with clear tape more often than anything because you can't fucking see it.
Mm-hmm.
So you must train yourself to fold it over a little bit.
That's annoying and shit.
It is. And then the big one for me is when people do not return their shopping carts. Are you guys aware of the shopping cart theory?
No.
That is a theory that I'm getting too close to the microphone. Theory that it kind of determines your moral character, whether you're a good or bad person, if you put your cart in a cart corral or just leave it out for, to get hit by somebody's car or whatever.
Is that an absolute?
Well,
because I would say 98% of the time, put the cart corral, but sometimes it's just fuck it.
Yeah.
It's way out here. I ain't dealing with it. I'm just gonna leave
or the cart corral is full.
Right.
Well, I'm still going to shove it over there. You should get it in. So,
yep.
But that's my 6. Return your shopping carts, folks. It's not a big deal. It's like the most easiest, quickest thing you could do for society these days.
Right. Don't be a dick.
Yeah. Who would like to go next? Matt?
Sure.
Knock it out, Matt.
All right. So the first group of people who should be forced to run backwards naked through a cornfield are people who don't take their right of way at 4-way stops and instead choose to just wave everyone through. They are disrupting the fabric of society. You are making things take longer, and you are making the intersection even more dangerous because you don't know when to go. Figure it out or stay home.
Where are there 4-way stops around here? Anywhere? They're all right.
Some, like Carmel, is nothing but roundabouts, and there is, I'm sure, quite an overlap in the Venn diagram of people who don't take their right away at 4-way stops and people who stop to let people in and roundabouts.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just riding around here with you this weekend, I can see there are people that don't even know how to use the roundabouts either. So,
not like they're new. It's a circle. All right. This next group of people should be forced to watch nothing but the Gilmore Girls for the rest of their lives. People who don't pick up after their pets, and they take them out. There's this old dude in a wheelchair that like zips through my neighborhood, and he brings his little dog, and it's on a retractable leash, and he'll just let it walk up into somebody's yard and take a shit, and then he motors his ass back on home.
So he feels he
lives. And instead of just, coming with a shopping bag and some kind of grabber to pick it up, I don't mind if you wheel up into my yard to pick up your dog's shit, but do it. Instead, he just leaves it there and just zips on home, and there lays the shit in somebody's yard. I want to say something to him, but again, he's old as shit and in, a wheelchair. I get there are some challenges, but there are also technological solutions to those challenges.
Yeah. So do you feel, he just feels he gets a pass because he's a cat?
Pretty much.
That's fine. Is it a lot of poop?
I don't know. I don't go examine it.
No. Well, I mean, that you have to pick up on your own.
It's never happened in my yard.
Oh, okay. So it's a neighbor. It's talked upon the neighbors.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. This next group of people should be forced to become Ohio State fans, which is probably the worst punishment I could ever think of for anyone. And that is people who use their speakerphone in public, and they always seem to hold their phone like this. Just hold it to the side of your head like a normal person. Then you don't have to yell, and the other person you're on the phone with doesn't have to yell either. I don't want to hear about your conversation. I don't give a shit what's going on in your life. As a matter of fact, I'm sure I'm a little bit dumber for having overheard whatever it is that you and your dippy. Turn off the speakerphone, get some earbuds, put that bitch to the side of your head. Please, for the love of God. That's all I ask. This next group of people here should be fed nothing but Velveeta for the rest of their life, and that is groups who refuse to walk single file through an airport.
Hey, what's wrong with Velveeta?
Can I finish here?
No, I'm interrupting.
Velveeta's fucking gross.
I have an organic conversation. Well, you think it's gross. I don't think it's gross. I don't use it that much, but I will use it in mac and cheese and things. Ramey?
Velveeta? I would, if I had to eat it, only it for the rest of my life or never eat it again, I would choose not to eat it again.
Yeah, I don't use it that much. Probably once or twice a year, making like a homemade mac. But
awesome. I'm glad you like it. Moving on. Groups that refuse to walk single file through the airport. I get it. You get off the plane and you want to talk to the people you're with. Oh my gosh, mommy, we made it to Shreveport. Thanks for bringing us here. Get the fuck out of the way. Some of us are trying to get out of the airport because we don't want to be in Shreveport. We want to make the visit as short as possible and then get the hell out of there because there's nothing but 6 casinos in the Larry Flint Hustler Club. I don't give a shit. It's the only vacation of your life. Please, for the love of God, get out of the way. Number 5, this group of people I would like to see stub their pinky toe every day for the rest of their life. And that is people who stop as soon as they walk through the door at Costco.
That's a stop short. That's a stop short, man.
They stand there and, of course, they'll have their card ready to show to the door greeter so they can gain access to the facility. And instead of stepping over to the side, they decide they need to put it back in their purse right there in the middle of the fucking doorway. But it takes Edith 30 seconds to do it because of her sausage fingers. Her hands don't work the same way that they used to. But back in the day, she could give a mean hand job. Now she can't her Costco card back in her wallet in a reasonable time frame. Some of us just want to get in, get the free food samples, and get out.
Right.
This last group of people needs to be sent to therapy because I don't know what kind of punishment there could be to actually make them quit this bullshit. And that's people who don't let others get off an elevator or public transport before they try and get on.
Yeah.
Like, are you really that self-important? The bus isn't going to leave without you. Chances are there isn't some asshole in the elevator just hitting all the buttons at all hours, unless I happen to be on there and I see you try and force your way on. Yes, I know you're late for the airport or your Uber's waiting down front and you have no time management skills. So now you're in a hurry and everybody else needs to bend to your will because you're that important. Well, guess what? Fuck you. Take the stairs.
I just don't understand it. They think the elevator's full. You know, there's 10, 12 people coming out.
Ground like everybody's getting off.
Yeah. What do you think's going to happen? Like, you're going to just squeeze in there? Is there, I mean, what the fuck, people? I agree with
Well, they only let a few certain people on that go to the secret sub-basement level where all the partying and drugs and hookers and free money are at.
Damn, I need to go to that.
Ramey, what annoys you?
I feel like you got a lot off your chest there, man.
Oh,
It was
but
sorry.
he does, he feels better.
Yeah. So
He stopped shaking his leg over here, so I know he's feeling
nice. So my first one is also airport related, but it's a little bit different. It's when you're in row 32D, seat D, and you land and you get to the gate and that fasten seatbelt sign goes off. And it's, oh my God, I better get my bag because I got to get out of here as quick as possible.
immediately. Like, where do you think you're going, motherfucker? Like,
Yeah.
seriously. I agree.
My second one is people who interrupt while you're trying to do your pick.
I get it, but
That pain.
I feel like a back and forth, organic, we're talking, it just feels like you list your shit. I mean, let's, there's no reason, but continue, buddy.
I hadn't gotten to finish my shit.
I love your first one so far, so I can't.
Well, I'm not done with it yet.
Oh, okay.
I was going to explain. It annoys me / I find hilarious that instead of just sitting there and waiting 7 minutes until it's your time to get up and grab your bag and go, you would rather stand in a question mark position so that you can save 26 seconds by being already halfway out of your seat when it's your turn to go. So that's my number 6. Number 5, eating with your mouth open. We're all adults. We're not cavemen.
Yeah, no. I'll do that.
It's disgusting. Sometimes things fall out when people eat with their mouth open. Talk with your mouth full, kind of in the same in group there. But I just feel like if you're going to eat like an adult, eat responsibly, close your mouth, chew your food, and swallow it before you decide to blurt out something stupid like I would.
Do you have that, what is it, misophonia or whatever, where like you can't stand the sound of somebody eating?
I hate that. I mean, I'm not going to leave the room or anything, but I definitely notice that I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like did nobody teach this person how to eat properly? So apparently there's some people in the world who don't. So Pyle's going to appreciate my next one just because of his affinity for a certain show. But my next one is our double dippers.
Oh, yeah.
If you're sharing food or you're at a party or whatever, and you're using, whether it's a sauce or a dip or something like that, get a fucking plate, put your dip on the plate and dip from your own plate. Don't take a bite of your chicken wing and then throw it in the community ranch and then take another bite out. Like, there's other people that want to use that. And I don't feel like French kissing everyone at the party, which is essentially what you're making me do when you double dip.
Yeah. You're as Seinfeld, you're putting your mouth directly into the dip.
Correct.
Now we had some salsa and chips yesterday at the table, and I didn't put any separate on my plate, but I pretty much.
But you didn't double.
No, I did not. We pretty
didn't double dip on
the honor system and only dipped once, and I eat the whole chip. I'm not just gonna go. I'm
correct.
I'm a guy that can shove a whole chip up my mouth. I'm saying.
So tell me if this following scenario constitutes a double dip. I have a standard triangular tortilla chip. I grasp it, at one of the 3 points. I dip another into some salsa.
I see where
I
you're going.
take a small bite. I then dip again, not fully submerging the chip, leaving the level of, contact. I leave a nice, we'll call it 3 millimeter cushion between the broken off part and the other part. Does that constitute a double dip?
Are you sticking in the dip the second time? That's where you held it, your fingers?
No, it's
For the first
I'm
dip?
holding it in the same spot.
Okay. So you're just hitting a corner, bite,
Yep.
another little
Next
corner, bite.
It's for me. I'm not sitting there watching where you're eating and then where you're dipping.
Yeah.
All I'm seeing is you taking a bite and then sticking the chip back
Yeah.
in.
I
That's
agree.
fair.
Just take one dip and end it.
And also, Kyle, you kind of alluded to this, the whole, okay, I dip whatever it is, my chip, my celery or whatever, I take a bite, and then I flip it around and dip the end that I didn't have in my mouth. Same thing, because your hands are fucking dirty too.
Yeah, exactly. I assume your hands are dirty. They're not, unless you just, I saw your hands get, washed, rinsed, sanitized, then it ain't fucking happening.
Yep. Yeah. Double dippers.
Okay.
Not my kind of people. My next one is it tends to be a certain age group that does this in my experience, but you send someone a text, just an offhand, hey, what's going on? Can you answer this for me? And all of a sudden your phone's ringing. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, there's a reason why I texted you. It's because I didn't want to talk to you on the phone. If I wanted to talk to you on the phone, I would have called you in the first place and not sent a text. So people that immediately call you when you send them a text is a group of people that annoy me. And I find that it's typically, the older age group. Kyle, you can probably relate.
Is that why we never talk on the phone?
That's why we never talk on the phone.
I know.
If you called me, I would answer. But when you text me,
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Take your call at least.
Just yesterday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd entertain the thought of a conversation once or twice.
Just yesterday, I said, "Oh, we should just put him on speaker and call him." And Matt looks at me and says, "I've never talked to him on the phone.
I don't think we have."
And I was like, "Well, I guess we're not going to fucking call him. Now I know not to call him. Now let's text you."
No, you can call me. That's not the issue.
No, I don't want it.
The issue is if I text you, hey, Kyle, can we move the podcast call to 7:00 instead of 6:30? And then all of a sudden my phone's ringing.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah, that's fine. Why do you want to move it?
See,
Right. Just want to move it.
You're at right.
How's your day? How are you feeling? What's going on? No,
That does not definitely warrant a phone call.
Yeah.
Just say yes or no.
Yeah.
Moving along.
Yeah. So my next one is related to this. It has to do with texting as well, but it's people that when you text, it's not a one-off. I'm not being unrealistic in my text expectations, but when you have somebody that you text them and it's going to be hours/days before they text you back, especially when you need something important.
Sure.
You know that they're looking at their phone. Everybody has their phone on them. And this is, I'll admit, this is my OCD because I am typically a quick texter backer. That's a thing. I get the little ding, got a text. Oh, I need to answer that. Send the text straight back. But the people that you text, again, understand that there's things going on. People work, things like that. But on the reg, you're going to text somebody and it's going to be hours or days before you hear back. It just drives me a little crazy.
Yeah.
Probably more me thing than anybody, but this is what annoys me, right?
I like to go by the 4-hour rule. I figure, okay, an average people got an 8-hour shift. They're going to get a lunch somewhere in between, maybe. I'm saying 4. I give people 4 hours before I go, Jesus, what the fuck?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So my last one is this. Every time I'm in traffic, this absolutely drives me nuts.
I was waiting for a traffic once.
So either you're coming into construction or there's a lane that's ending because you're going from 3 lanes to 2 on the interstate.
You got to merge.
Sure, Kyle, go ahead.
He's upset. I've upset him. Thanks again for dinner last night.
Yeah. My number one, people that interrupt other people.
Repeat it.
So, yeah, people that merge at the very last minute and cause traffic to be worse than what it would be if you would have just merged when it said lane ends in 1 mile, we all would have been fine. But nope, you're sitting there, you're waiting on traffic to move, and all of a sudden there's somebody comes to your left at 50 miles an hour and then slams on their brakes, turns on their turn signal, and some idiot 3 cars in front of you lets them in.
So
reinforcing bad behavior.
There's been studies that show the zipper merge is the way to go now, right?
But what Ramey's describing and the zipper merge are not mutually exclusive. Like what he's talking about is somebody that decides, oh my God, it's a race to the merge point and I've got to be.
I gotcha. I understand. Okay.
Rather than comfortably merge, whether it be the zipper method or whatever method, not doing that, thinking, you know what, I need to be to my destination 15 seconds quicker. So I'm going to wait until the lane actually ends and then expect someone to let me in.
Yeah. They probably clip a couple barrels too or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're that close. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that. All right. I understand now.
Those are my 6.
Cool. That was a good 6.
All right. Kyle, any thoughts on mine?
I love the double dippers, of course, just from this side.
I knew you would.
That's a good one. George Costanza was a double dipper. I mean, who'd have thought?
I think for me, I just want to say, Ramey, you have a very reasonable set of text-pectations.
Thank you. I think we just coined a new phrase.
My back in the day replay this week, June 23rd, 1988. New York Yankees manager Billy Martin was fired for not the first time, not the second time, not the third or fourth time, but the 5th time by George Steinbrenner. In just like an 18-year period, hired and fired. I don't understand.
Damn. Seems like somebody bleed to death after an 18.
I guess, you get fired and no one will ever call you a quitter. So I don't know. Ramey, what do you got for the back of the day replay this week?
I've actually got a couple. This week in 2008, Tiger Woods won the U.S. Open and a 19-hole playoff over Rocco Mediate. That was his 14th major and the last major before his affinity for Perkins was come to light, and he took a big break from winning majors up until I believe it was 2019, 2018. So I remember watching that. It was on a Monday, and I think that was back when I was either a student or shortly after being a college student and was not gainfully employed yet. But it was really compelling. Rocco Mediate, 45 years old, Tiger Woods in the prime of his career, but going off of basically a broken leg. Tiger ends up winning in 19 holes. It was an 18-hole playoff. They tied after the first 18 holes, had to go to a sudden death hole, and Tiger pulled it out on the last hole. So my second one I'll make really quick because I kind of went on Tiger Woods there. And this week in 1976, the 18-team NBA absorbed the 4 remaining ABA teams: the New York Nets, the Indiana Pacers, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Denver Nuggets, who recently won the NBA championship for the first time in their NBA existence.
I'm just waiting on the Pacers to do that, right, buddy?
Yeah. Yep. Just waiting patiently.
Matt, what do you got for this week's back in the day replay?
June 19th, 1846, the first officially recognized baseball game played by Cartwright rules was held. The New York Nine defeated the Knickerbockers 23-1 in Hoboken, New Jersey. The Cartwright rules really gave us more of the game we know today, like balls being hit outside the first or third base line, being foul, tagging a runner to make them out. So, yeah, that's all I got.
You went way back.
Yeah, I did.
Like 14 years before the Civil War. He went way back.
Yeah, people needed something to do back then, too.
I guess.
And look how the game has evolved.
Yeah.
Now we have
pitch clocks and
the own MLB commissioner just shitting on the league and its fans.
Yeah. Sorry, Oakland.
Okay. All right.
That's it for this week, folks. Visit the website, www.stonedownsportspodcast.com.
Shouldn't there be one more W?
Oh, shorter W. You think you can figure it out. The internet's been around for long enough.
Hey, don't want to end up on the dark web.
Right. So check out the website and new episodes weekly on Tuesdays. Check out our YouTube, Stone Down Sports Podcast. Anything else you guys want to add?
Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your clergy, tell anybody.
Your friends. Yes.
Yeah. Big thank you to all of our subscribers. A special thanks to Lauren and Adrian out in Arizona. We appreciate, we have a female listener / subscriber.
Excellent. Love it.
We have broad appeal.
That's good. Awesome. I hope we can get more diverse people as subscribers and listeners. That'd be great.
Yeah. Appreciate all the feedback and appreciate you guys watching and listening. We'll talk to you next week.
Sweet. Thanks a lot.
Bye. Wave.
There you go.
Boom.